Hey guys, in the last episode we talked about event handlers, event listeners and handlers, and today we're going to talk about checkboxes and possibly sliders and other stuff, just like to cover up like a big part of the framework. So let's create a checkbox. Let's call it CBX. Alright, checkbox. Window. Let's already put in the text we want, sample checkbox, font for Donna, because why not, font size, let's do 18, X position 300, Y position 200, and size, let's make it 30. So window.add, let's do CBX. Let's run this and see. On any UI control that has text on it, there's text alignment. And by default, it's in the center. So right now, like when you create a checkbox, for example, the text area, like the area for the text to be rendered on, is like around this whole thing. And the text alignment is in the center. So it's like in the center. That's why it's so spaced out. So what we can do is cbx.set text alignment. Pass in MC, hold up, never mind, text alignment. By default it's center. Line. Hello? There. Sorry, text alignment, double L, my bad. Text alignment, left. For example, well, let's do right first. It's gonna shift the whole text to the rightmost side of the thing. Yeah, you see it's no longer in the center. It's like to the very right of the text area. You can't see it because it's invisible, but yeah, there's like a separate box here that captures the text in it. So it's shifted to the right. Same thing, we can do text alignment left. And run this, and it's gonna align the text to the left side. Yeah. If you don't like how close it is, especially if you have a small checkbox and the text is very, very like too close to the checkbox, what you can do is cbx.set margins, and yeah, you can set this like 10, for example. And it's gonna be 10 pixels, the text is gonna be 10 pixels away, so you see it's like a little bigger. Let's set it to something bigger, like 100 for example, and it's still text alignment left. So if we set margins to like 100 pixels, the text is gonna be very, very spaced out. If we just leave it out, it's gonna be like 2 pixels, I believe, or 1 or 2 pixels. So yeah, if you like it, you can just keep it. Yeah. Now let's do sliders. UI slider. What other parameters are there? X, let's do 400, 300. Width, 100, let's make it 160. Yeah, and you can't specify the height yet. But it can do, yeah, I'll show you all the parameters later. All the options. So this is a sample slider. You can drag it already. And yeah, you can do slider.set color. That's gonna set, you can set knob radius. So like, let's be a complete troll and set it to 40. And it's gonna be a big slider, a big knob. I don't know why would anyone use this, but you know, it looks pretty funky. Let's set it's like, you can also set it's like super tiny if you want. Jesus. Oh my god. It's so small. Alright. You can do, slider.set. I believe you can set knob Yeah, you can set the position of the knob like initially on the slider. You can also do set a minimum value and maximum value. So minimum value would be like the leftmost edge of the slider and max value the rightmost, and you can do set by default minimum value is 0 and maximum value is 100, and you can do set value into whatever value. If it's greater than the max or less than the minimum, it's going to automatically correct it to the minimum or the maximum. You can set intervals, which is going to be like how many steps there are. So for example, if you have minimum 0 and a maximum 100, and the intervals by default are 1, so every time you move it, it's going to increment by 1. You can set the intervals like 10 or 100. Well, if it's like 100, it's going to just like jump right through, and it's not going to stop somewhere in the middle. If you stop the knob somewhere in the middle, it's going to calculate which like side it's closer to, and then it's going to set that value. You can do set value changed event handler and pass in the event handler function that we talked about yesterday. It has to be like void UI element, and then you can static cast it to slider, and it's gonna automatically like take you can get the value out of it. You can take anything that the slider has out of the sender parameter. One more thing with the checkbox though. Let's see, it's good, right? Yeah. You can set event handlers for checkboxes too. Let me just create one. These are from the last episode. Checkbox state changed. Well, UI sender. UI element sender. You can do. Let's just put a message box up when the state changes. Just a blank error message box, and then we're gonna do cbx.set state changed event handler and go with that. There, every time you click it, it's gonna tell you. So let's do UI checkbox equals static cast UI checkbox sender, and that's how you cast to certain elements. And you can do checkbox.get get selected. Is it selected? Hello? Oh, get checked. I'm blind. You can also do std to string. There. It just converts the get checked boolean to string and then converts it to C string to put it in the message box. So like this is the main function, checkbox to get checked. Yes. We're gonna run this, and if it's checked, it's gonna print 1. If it's not checked, it's gonna print 0. Perfect. So yeah, these are checkboxes. Same with sliders. You can there's a value changed event handler, which is gonna call your callback function every time the value changes. So we have like a lot of steps and like very small intervals. And if you just like want to print message boxes there, And if you like drag the slider really fast, it's just gonna spam the message boxes, and it's not gonna be a good demonstration. So I'll just leave it out. You can try it on your own if you want. There's a really cool thing called the mouse cursor thing, I believe. There's an abstract class mouse, a static class mouse. You can set cursors for your window. So for example, mouse, set new cursor, then you do mouse and then the name of your cursor, like for example, hand. It's gonna set the cursor on your window to the hand, as you can see. So if you drag it back to Visual Studio, it's gonna be like whatever cursor there is in Visual Studio, and if you drag it back in, it's gonna be a hand. You can change it to help, and it's gonna be a weird looking cursor with a question mark next to it. The default would be like the normal default, like this one on here that I'm showing right now. And yeah, you can also get mouse position X and get mouse position Y, and those are relative to the window. Yeah, the weighting cursor is like the circle, like the weighting. What it can do is, there's also a good class called keyboard, and I want to talk about the is key down and is key pressed functions. Those are like, it's important to understand the difference between them. Is key down is gonna, alright, so if you're familiar with the Windows API and get async key state function, so to get the state of a key, if it's pressed or not, you would do async get async key state. Then for example, like vk space, and then it would put an ampersand sign, and down would be 0x8000. That would return the state of a button if it's like completely down, and if you print it in a console, for example, it's just gonna keep spamming it very, very fast. So for example, in a text box, if you're tracking key presses yourself, for example on a label or something, you could, if you use 0x8000, it would just like, you press it and it would just like spam 5 times that it's pressed, which is not good. That is what keyboard is key down function is for. Yeah, is key down. This is basically equivalent to get async key state at 0x8000. So is key pressed is a little different. Is key down is good for if you want to check for shift, if shift is pressed. So you would listen for a key press like on any key, and then you would instantly check for is shift down. So if it is down, you don't need to like print it anywhere. You just convert the lowercase letter to uppercase letter. Is key pressed is more balanced for typing and detecting like key presses while typing. It would be this equivalent to this. What it does is it gets the state when the key was either released or pressed. So if you like tap a key and like hold it there, it's not gonna spam like a million times. If you print it in a console, it's gonna print it out like gradually, like with couple like half a second intervals. So it's good for detecting key presses if they're down and you're trying to like, for example, in a keylogger. Well, don't do it for any other reasons except for educational purposes. But if you're making a keylogger and you would have to detect key presses, and if a person is holding the key down, if you did is key down, it would like return that key. It would return that the key was pressed like 5,000 times. If you use is key pressed, it's going to return it only when the key was pressed, and every time it was, for example, if you're in a Google Chrome window, if you press it like this, you see it goes gradually, like millisecond intervals, not like 5. So if I press it once, it types in once. If you use get ASCII key state at 0x8000, it would print it out like 5 times. It's hard to understand, but just keep that in mind. If you want to detect key presses for like shift or something like in a game, I would suggest use is key down. But if you're detecting key presses in like a keylogger or a label, when the guy is like holding the key down a lot and keeping it down, and you don't have to like print it out many times, I would suggest use is key press. It's hard to explain, but just you can experiment with this and see for yourself how it reacts. So for plugging in keys, you would do keyboard, for example, is key press, and then you would do MC Alt backspace, MC backtick, MC comma, MC down. Like there are a lot of different keys here. So for example, MC key A, that would get the state, and it returns a boolean. So if it's pressed, it's true. If it's not pressed, it's false, of course. If you want something like tilde or something, you would use, because it's not like a standard key, you would use keyboard get key code, and you would do it like this, tilde like that, and you plug in char here. That would get the virtual code for that key, whatever you typed in here. You can put any key, it just gets that code in here, and it plugs it into is key pressed, and it returns that true or false. You can also do keyboard dot, it's a static function, simulate key presses. You can simulate a single key press. You can simulate key press sequence, which is multiple letters, as many as you want. You just gotta plug in a string there. You can simulate key presses with shift, so it automatically presses shift for you and then simulates a key. So if you want an uppercase letter, you would do simulate key press with shift. If you want a lowercase, you would do simulate key press. Same with simulate key press sequence, and sequence with shift. One is with shift, one is without, one is lowercase, one is all uppercase. If you want to make a trolling program that spams caps, like everything in caps lock, you would do simulate key press sequence with shift. I don't know why you would do that, but I don't know, just fun function. That is it for this tutorial. I covered your checkboxes, sliders, mouse, and cursor. It was a lot with the mouse and cursor, so I suggest playing around with it and seeing everything for yourself and trying it out. That helps a lot. And that is it. I'll probably make a speed coding video next, demonstrating like all of it. Also, there's a networking class, TCP networking class in Monochrome. I will demonstrate how to make a messenger app in it. I'll probably make it a speed coding video with music and stuff that like combines all the concepts here. Well, except for the keyboard, maybe. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.